Hey everyone, thanks for joining. I'm going to wait for a minute to allow everybody who's registered to join the room. If you could just hold on, we'll get started soon. All right, let's get started. Hi everyone who's here. Welcome. The time has come again, once again, for NetSuite's second half yearly release. And this means that you're going to see upgrades to its modules, enhancements for performance, and critical fixes for stability. For those who are new to our monthly webinars, hi, I'm Tina, and I'm the marketing manager for 79 Consulting. And I do the regular marketing stuff, brand awareness, promotional campaigns, lead generation, etc. Our team here at 79 Consulting has reviewed NetSuite's extensive release notes for 2022.2, and they've shortlisted some noteworthy highlights to share with you today. If you'd like to take a deeper dive into specific topics, you can find the release notes on Suite Answers, or you can reach out to us for assistance. Quick note to our audience, please do post any questions that come to mind during our session in our chat box, and we'll address them as we go. Now, before we begin, just a very brief overview of our company. We were founded in 2007 as Twarna, and we've been providing support, managed services, and integration services for NetSuite clients worldwide. We recently had a rebrand about a year ago, so you might be aware that we also go by the brand name 79 Consulting, which is our global brand. And to extend NetSuite's platform functionalities, we also have a bunch of Suite apps that you can find on suiteapp.com using the search term Twarna. On to panel intros. First up, Uday Chand is Twarna's or 79 Consulting's project manager, and he has over 15 years of experience in software development, and he's also our scripting practice lead. Eric has over 9 years of experience on NetSuite, primarily focused on manufacturing and inventory distribution environments. Eric's industry experience helps him address customers' unique requirements. We have Navina, who handles projects for 79 Consulting. She's responsible for client communication, requirement gathering, and project implementation using NetSuite features, native NetSuite features or customizations. Akshara is our NetSuite consultant who's going to be handling all updates for our Suite apps. She'll walk you through those. She started working with Twarna in 2019, May 2019, and she's responsible for implementing Suite apps, conducting product trainings, requirement gathering, and unit testing. And she also works with customers on ad hoc requests. We have Abhishek, who is our QA lead, and he has over 14 years of experience in quality assurance. He is responsible for testing key accounts at Twarna and is the point of contact for QA of NetSuite processes and Suite apps. And finally, Athara is a director of our Suite Commerce practice. She started working with NetSuite and Site Builder in 2012, and she has extensive experience building, maintaining, and upgrading SEA websites along with her team. Okay, let's kick this off with Uday. And Uday is going to be discussing the purpose of NetSuite releases. Uday, how can our audience prepare for these releases, and why does NetSuite even come out with them?
Sure. Thanks for the intro, Tina. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So, NetSuite rolls out major updates to its platform twice a year, and these updates are called releases and they affect NetSuite's entire customer base. So, NetSuite uses these releases to introduce new features and enhancements and also to deprecate legacy features. All of this means that aspects of your NetSuite account could change significantly with a new release, and that you must be prepared for the changes before they are released. So let's quickly talk about NetSuite's upgrade schedule. NetSuite upgrades its customer base in several batches, and so an upgrade window can last for over a month. You can find out your account's planned upgrade date from the new release portlet on the home screen of your account after logging into NetSuite. If you don't see the new release portlet on your home page, you can add it by clicking on the personalized dropdown and selecting the new release option. Also, for those wondering if one can opt out of a release, this is possible if you are on a dedicated NetSuite server, which is usually the case for very large enterprise customers. Okay. Moving on, so you should also know that NetSuite provides a release preview account, which is a copy of your production account on the soon-to-be released NetSuite version. This is a free account that customers can use to test their business flows and customizations before the new release. In order to access a release preview account, you would first need to opt in. So if you are an administrator, you can request for a release preview account by navigating to Setup, Company, and Release Preview on your production account and by clicking the Request Release Preview button. The opt-in window for 2022.2 release is currently open. Okay. Let us now talk about preparing for a new release. So once you know your upgrade date and the availability of the release preview account, it is important to be informed on what new features are planned in the new release and which ones could affect your NetSuite account. A good place to start is NetSuite Sneak Peek, which is a page that lists the highlights of the new release broken down by industry and vertical. If there are features you'd like to learn more about, you can read through the NetSuite's full release notes, which are made available well ahead of a new release. So the next thing to do is come up with a testing plan. The aim should be to have your NetSuite users test your key business flows and ensure that everything is working as expected. We recommend that you test some of the following areas as a starting point. So please ensure all the business workflows are tested thoroughly. Also verify the custom reports, queries, and forms are tested. And then please verify all the suite scripts and customizations are working on the new release preview as well. The next thing to verify is SOAP web services and any integrations that are already developed in your account. Please ensure they are still intact and working as expected. Also, any installed suite apps, any bundles or installed suite apps in your account, please make sure that they are working without any issues. And then look at your Suite Commerce site. It should be thoroughly reviewed and verified to make sure that there are no issues because of the new release. Also, any external integrations should be reviewed to ensure that there are no issues because of the new release. So Twarna provides all of these services, and you can reach out to us in case you need help with any of the above. We'll also email a link to NetSuite's testing plan after this webinar. We also provide both manual and automated QA services and specialize in NetSuite release preview testing. In addition, if you are subscribed to any of our apps, we have validated them and they're ready to be used with the 2022.2 release. So please reach out to us if you want us to upgrade them for you.
Thanks for that intro there. Before we continue, let me just take a brief moment to post a poll question for our audience, which you should see on your screen right now. All right, thanks everyone. Back to you there.
Sure, Tina. So now that we've covered the introduction, let's move on to some of the Suite script side of the updates for this release. So let's first talk about the Suite Cloud SDK. So Suite Cloud SDK, which stands for the Software Development Kit, is a set of tools that can be used to develop SDF projects. So these tools include Suite Cloud IDE plugins and command line interfaces. And one of the key updates to the SDK with this release is that there will be no new releases for the Suite Cloud IDE plugin for Eclipse as of NetSuite 2022.2. So Suite Cloud IDE plugin for Eclipse remains unavailable, but no further features will be, let me correct myself. So the Suite Cloud IDE plugin for Eclipse remains available, but no further features will be added to this, and any issues will not be fixed. So the recommendation from NetSuite is to consider transitioning to the Suite Cloud extension for Visual Studio, or the Suite Cloud IDE plugin for WebStorm or for Node.js. Moving on, let's take a quick look at SuiteTalk Web Services integration updates. So the SOAP Web Services version 2022.2 is not yet available. NetSuite publishes an Araxis merge diff file for every new endpoint. See, this Araxis merge diff file basically highlights the schema changes between the new release and the previous release. So basically, you should see the differences between 2022.1 and 2022.2 endpoints. Okay. All right. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the Suite script updates. So as is, there are no updates on the Suite script side from NetSuite for the 2022.2 release. We will, however, briefly talk about the general process that we follow for every NetSuite release to ensure all our customizations are still intact with the new release. As you're aware, the NetSuite release preview portlet will give us the complete details about an upcoming release, like the upgrade phase, upgrade date, links to release notes, training videos. All these are provided in the new release portlet. So we will first opt in for the release preview account and then go through the release notes and note down the details of significant updates. And then we try to come up with a common test plan sheet. Essentially, this is a living document, the common test plan sheet, which includes all major functionalities that were developed. So we update this document for every release with the details of the customizations that we worked on after the previous NetSuite release. So at any given point, this gives us a cumulative list of all the functionalities that need to be validated in the new release preview account. We will then test every functionality, like the scripts, workflows, form level customizations, anything, right? Every customization will be tested in the release preview account to make sure that we are still seeing the expected results and output. In case of any issues, we will first validate all the possible use cases, look for workarounds if we can, and if not, we'll then try to reach out to NetSuite support to help us address these issues. So this should lead us right into our next topic, which is the QA and automation. I'll probably hand this off to Abhishek at this point. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Uday. Now over to you, Abhishek.
Yeah, thanks, Tina. So I'll give a brief on QA and automation, why it's required. Now, during every NetSuite release, QA forms an essential part in testing the new NetSuite features and products. It is very important for us to ensure all the new features, along with the existing features, they are working as expected in our NetSuite account, and that nothing is disrupted because of the new release. Just to give you all a brief background on automation. It helps us run all the test cases automatically, one after the other, without user intervention, and produces a report of test results for each of the test cases. Now, automation in QA helps us in expediting the testing process. It runs in a developed framework, and thus helps us in generating reports for a better visibility of the testing process. We can probably do a quick demo of a sales order creation process and see how this works. Yeah, so let me share my screen. Yeah, can you all see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So let me start with the demo. So this is an Eclipse platform. Now on the left-hand side, I'll give a brief on the project. So we have created a project by the name Page Object Model, or POM. You can give any name to it. So the structure is basically, it has folders which is residing in this. This is a Maven as well as a Java project. So it has the name as M and J. Now there are two folders to that, subfolders. One is source main Java and source test Java. Now in source test Java, we usually keep the test class files, and in source main Java, we usually keep the page class files that is called in the test class. Now below that, there is the JRE system library, which actually have all the jar files that is required to run the code that you all are seeing on the right hand side. After that comes the Maven dependencies. These are the dependencies that are required to generate like anything, like running the Selenium code or generating a report. These Maven dependencies are required. Next comes the TestNG. That is the framework that we have used. It's a library, TestNG library file. Now after that comes folders like source, target, and test output. This test output is required to generate the reports. Now if I go on the right hand side to the code, this is the test class file. It has the class as sales order and the method as SO. So if we annotate this method by @test, that is a TestNG annotation, it will run according to the TestNG framework. Now we'll run this code and create an SO. Now I'll right click on run as, and click on one TestNG test. So as you can see in the console, it's showing the results. So it's opening the Chrome driver, and once the browser opens, then it logs in. Then it selects the appropriate role. Then it navigates to the home page. Then it types the customer in the global search. This is an existing customer. Now it navigates to that customer screen. So as this is a sandbox environment, it will take some time. So once the customer screen opens, from here, there is an option to create a sales order. So it will click on the drop down and select the sales order option. Now once we create that sales order, what is the advantage is we can use this customer and place it directly in the sales order. Now after filling up this customer, it will fill up some more fields like we have on the delivery instructions. Okay. So it will fill up one by one. Next, it will fill up the items at the bottom of the page. So this is a carpet item. So we can take any packed item like an engineered wood, laminate, or WinClick, or we can take a rolled item like carpets. So once all the item values gets populated in the line level, then it will click on the add button and it will click on the save button. It will provide the quantity in the line level and it will click on the add and then save. After that, it will navigate to the it will navigate to the calculate shipping. The pop-up will come, it will select that option and it will click on the save button. So once the sales order is saved, it will display a green banner at the top, confirmation that the transaction saved successfully. Now we will go to the Eclipse platform. See the console results. It is marked as passed. It shows the test status. Okay. And now we'll navigate to the test output folder. So if we go to the test output folder, it will display the generated reports. The first one is the emailable report.html. We'll open it, we'll right click and open it in the web browser. So by this, we can get an idea of how many test cases have been passed. So it shows the number of test cases passed as 1, the failed is 0, and it also records the time. And it's since the test case resides in a test suite, that's why the test suite is marked as passed also. Now we'll go to the next report. The name of this report is index.html. Now when we open it in the web browser and click on the times link that is displayed under the info section, here also we can see that the time that the test case has taken to got executed, and it shows the method as SO and the class as sales order with the time mentioned in milliseconds. So that's all about the demo. We gave a brief demo on the SO creation. Over to you, Tina.
Thanks, Abhishek. All right, now with that, we're going to move over to Navina, who's covering updates to the functional side of the NetSuite platform. Navina?
Thanks, Tina. Let's jump right in. Let's start with accounting section first. And in accounting, so we have 4 categories in this release, which I will discuss, one at a time. And let's start with advanced revenue management enablement updates first, right? The ARM feature is now split into 2 different categories. And the first is ARM Essentials. So this feature supports the use of revenue arrangements and plans to automate revenue deferral, recognition, forecasting, and auditing. And we have one more feature, ARM revenue allocation. This feature is an add-on to ARM Essentials. This feature supports the use of fair value pricing, range checking, and fair value formulas to allocate revenue across several performance obligations. And this update does not affect functionality for existing NetSuite accounts that have the ARM feature enabled already. And these features will be enabled automatically in those accounts. And the accounting periods feature must be enabled as a prerequisite for both ARM Essentials and ARM allocation. And the next is fixed asset management enhancements. And this FAM version 2022.2 includes 3 enhancements in this release. The first is check depreciation history records without its associated records. The FAM diagnostic portlet can now check for depreciation history records that are not associated with an asset or asset values record. With this update, users can run a scan to identify these DHRs and can delete them. If these DHRs are still linked to any journal entry and or a summary record, you can check these DHRs in the review assistant. You can download a CSV file containing the affected DHRs and modify the file before re-uploading it to delete the DHRs. And the second enhancement in the FAM is transaction field map validation and flagging of invalid records. Transaction field map now enforces restrictions for both asset field ID and the transaction field ID when applying custom fields or custom segment to FAM records and transactions. If you select a custom field, you can enter only standard or custom fields in the asset field ID. But if you select a custom segment, you can enter only custom segment fields in the asset field ID. You can also optionally enter a transaction field ID there. And the last enhancement in the FAM is depreciation rule mapping for FAM default alternate depreciation and FAM proposal alternate depreciation. FAM now automatically maps the values of the depreciation rule field, depending on whether you are creating an asset proposal or asset record, the depreciation rule value is mapped. Just note, if no depreciation rule is detected when mapping values to the tax method records, the value is sourced from asset type record instead. And the next section in the accounting is about suite approvals. So let's discuss about suite approvals enhancements very quickly. And it has two things. The first is enable draft status and submit for approval. This applies only to expense report, journal entry, purchase order, requisition, sales order, and vendor bill transactions. There is a new preference added to the approval process manager page. This preference will allow you to set a certain record type to be saved as a draft before approval, and there will be also a submit for approval button displayed upon saving the record or a transaction. And the screenshot shows you the features and record types available for this enhancement. And the last in the accounting is deferred revenue reclassification enhancements. This release includes enhancements to the calculations for contract assets and the netting entries. This enhancement only impacts reclassification calculations when the accounting preference unbilled receivable adjustment journal grouping is set to arrangement or sub-arrangement group. The new computations apply to revenue arrangements with a combination of positive and negative elements. This enhancement also includes updates to the foreign currency gain or loss on contract asset adjustment calculation. NetSuite only creates this adjustment when the accounting preference exclude contract asset from foreign reclassification box is clear. Now deferred revenue balances will zero for foreign currency transactions after all the revenue is recognized. And we are done with the accounting part now. Let's just jump in and discuss about order management. So we have three different order management enhancements to Suite apps in 2022.2 release. The first one is about electronic and invoicing enhancements, and next is Packstation enhancements, and in the last we'll discuss about payment gateway plugin enhancement. And let's start with electronic invoicing enhancements. As you all know that electronic invoicing Suite app enables you to create and utilize electronic documents to help you comply with legal requirements in our countries. In addition to streamlining your sales to cash and purchase to payment processes through efficient data exchange with vendors, customers, or different tax agencies. Enhancements to NetSuite Suite Apps license client validations take effect in the following NetSuite accounts. And for One World accounts, without an active electronic invoicing license, but with a country selected in the e-document country for free use listed on the company information page. Outbound transactions are generated, certified, or sent only if the transaction subsidiaries country matches with the country selected in the e-document country for free use list. All valid inbound e-documents are converted into bills only if the vendor's subsidiary's country matches with the country selected in the e-document country for free use list. Accounts without One World, if the NetSuite Suite Apps license client is installed in your accounts, then the NetSuite Suite App license client does not verify the EI license status. For accounts without One World, the country of business is the default country. The country selected in the e-document country for free use list is not applicable for the accounts and is not validated. The same applies to the transactions or vendor's subsidiary country as well. All outbound and inbound transactions can be processed if your account is not One World. And the next in the electronic invoice is about updating script descriptions in script records. In this version of the Suite app, script descriptions are updated in all the existing script records. Using the script description field, you can add a brief overview or note describing the function or properties of each script in a new script record. Script descriptions can help teams across your organization to avoid issues and resolve any without need for NetSuite support. And next, let's discuss about Packstation enhancements. So if you use Packstation with warehouse management, you can process service items for picking and packing through your mobile device. You can process only for sale and resale service item types that have the can be fulfilled or received setting in the preferences subtab in their item records. When you transfer packed cartons into pallets, you can choose a pallet that has already been used in a shipped fulfillment. You can enable this capability by activating the used pallets from shipped fulfillment system rule. And the next one is about payment gateway plugin enhancement. Payment gateway plugin suite app version 4.02.8 includes support for SHA 256 secure hash algorithm for Asia Pay Direct and Asia Pay external checkout payment profiles. Your administrator must upgrade your existing payment profiles from SHA 1 to SHA 256 as soon as possible to prevent security vulnerabilities. Support for SHA 1 will end after a transition period of 3 months from July 19th, 2022. The Suite app now supports 3D Secure 2.0 as an add-on service by Asia Pay external checkout. And let's discuss about some banking section enhancements. And let's start with bank feeds. The Bank Feed Suite app version 2022.1.2 includes the following enhancements. And the first is enhanced US and Canada bank feeds configuration setup interface. So you can now connect to a US or Canada financial institution through a modern configuration pop-up window with updated labels. Previously, the configuration window consisted of a 3-phase setup to connect your financial institution to NetSuite. The latest version of the Suite app now uses a minimalist version that makes configuration seamless. To ensure optimized account linking and verification, the configuration pop-up window has been upgraded with the following: a new search algorithm with clear financial institution names and help text, labels and error messages that provide you with clear steps, ability to connect with financial institutions that use open banking technology and import your bank data. The system automatically redirects you to the financial institution's website to authenticate your credentials and authorize NetSuite to retrieve your bank data for import. And the next is revised notice on data processing. So to support the open banking feature, the technology license agreement with the authorized information service provider of NetSuite has been updated. The system prevents the revised notice only one time during your connection setup. So the system also asks you to consent to data sharing every time you connect to a financial institution. And the next is support for open banking feature. The latest version of the Suite app enables you to connect with and import your bank data from financial institutions that use open banking technology. With open banking, the system automatically redirects you to the financial institution's website to authenticate your credentials and authorize NetSuite AISP to retrieve your bank data. So this action improves the bank fees connection setup by providing fewer authentication requirements. And the next section is about globalization. So NetSuite 2022.2 includes an enhancement on internationalization of features. And one of them is multi-subsidiary customer now compatible with consolidated payments. So NetSuite 2022.2 provides compatibility between multi-subsidiary customer and consolidated payments features. To use these features together, a new restriction applies to customer hierarchies. That restriction is that all parent customers must have all subsidiaries of their sub-customers. The last section is about user interface. The NetSuite 2022.2 includes the following enhancements to the NetSuite user interface. And the first is menu search enhancement. And the next is inline editor sublist tooltip. So let's discuss about menu search enhancement. NetSuite global search results now include all hierarchy levels within the navigation menus. When you enter keywords in the global search, the enhanced results appear under a menu results heading. The menu search feature is enabled by default. To disable the menu search, go to Home and navigate to Set Preferences. And on the Analytics subtab, clear the page search box. And this the picture on the screen describes you the pattern of menu search results. And the last is about inline editor sublist tooltip. When you are editing a sublist inline and you hover over a cell, a tooltip appears that shows a column name. If a sublist has many lines, you can now view the column's name when scrolling down a sublist. That's all in the user interface section. So that's all from me, Tina.
Hey, thanks, Navina. I'm now going to hand the mic over to Eric, who will be talking about updates to warehousing and inventory management. Eric?
Thank you, Tina. Let's start today with the supply planning workbench. This is becoming a more popular feature in the demand planning engine in NetSuite, and NetSuite continues to add some advancements for us. So first up is pegging, which is the process of identifying dependencies between supply chain activities. So under pegging elements, we have under the 2022.2 update, are displays and transactions at the end of the pegging chain so that you can view the parent item related to the demand. In this release, you can check the View Independent Demand box to show independent demand for some orders. When you click the View Independent Demand box, the planning system creates an order hierarchy that displays important parent items and transactions first. This enables you to see which transactions are driving supply and demand. Also under the supply planning workbench, we have the date-based view, grid view updates. So under the grid view, the date-based view enables you to examine cause and effect by period and forecast trends for an item and location over time. Under the graph view, the date-based view graph displays the adjusted available balance per period. The safety stock quantity and unit of measure for the graph items are also displayed in this view. After you enter the date-based view, a window opens enabling you to view the plan results, grid, and a graph of the item's adjusted available balance. Both the grid and graph views values are calculated based on the planning period selected within this window. The graph view enables you to view available inventory, which helps identify when safety stock is too low. Next, we're going to move into the warehouse management feature under WMS. We have a few new updates here with re-releasing lines that have backordered quantities. When items become available for sales or transfer order lines with back orders, you can release them in a wave. The newly committed quantities may be adjusted to an existing wave that already contains the same item line. NetSuite WMS adds them to a new wave if the pickers have already started to pick the items of the existing wave. Next, we have some new support on fulfillable service items. So previously, right, service items, we didn't have that checkbox to mark them as can be fulfilled, received. From the WMS engine, service items wouldn't show for your as a fulfillable item. But now waves can include service items that have the can be fulfilled, received setting enabled on the item record. You can now add only for sale and for resale service item types to waves. On your mobile device, you can process these items through any of the picking processes. But note that particular picking, bins, and pick strategies do not apply to service items. We also have some bin enhancements for WIP. If you use the warehouse management with manufacturing mobile, you can now transfer items to WIP bins through the NetSuite WMS app. This capability applies to WIP bins that have the use bin in manufacturing mobile settings on the item record. Okay. Good good, decent update here for barcode scanning. We can now scan item barcodes in GS1 formats that include a list of additional identifiers. So now we get the O2, which is the global trade item number of contained trade items. And if you include both this identifier and the O1, the GTIN identifier, NetSuite maps only the O1 GTIN identifier with the items associated at alias. For the following mobile processes, you can continuously scan GS1 or composite barcodes with an item's lot or serial number. Purchase order receiving for serial numbers only, inbound shipment receiving single or multiple order picking. When you scan an item barcode, its lot or serial number appears in the appropriate field within the process. If the barcode includes the ordered quantity, you can also skip its manual entry in the field. After you process a lot or serial number, you can scan another one for the same item as in tally scanning, right? The same behavior applies when you use tally scanning for GS1 barcodes, which is also a setting you have the ability to adjust on the item record. Further, we have Packstation updates. If you use Packstation with warehouse management, you can process service items for picking and packing through your mobile device. You can process only for sale and resale service item types, similar to what we had discussed previously in the WMS option. When you transfer pack cartons into pallets, you can choose a pallet that has already been used in a shipped fulfillment. You can enable this capability by activating the use pallets from shipped fulfillment system rule, as previously this was not allowed. And that's it from me, Tina.
Thanks so much, Eric. Now over to Twarna's Suite app updates for 2022.2. Akshara will be taking over.
Yeah, thank you, Tina. So let us first talk about our storage suite app, SkyDoc, and the updates for this time. So SkyDoc is a document management solution which is built on top of the NetSuite, and it integrates NetSuite and Amazon S3. And SkyDoc is scalable, affordable, secure file storage, and it has no file limits or file type limits or file size limits. And all files related to a single record will be available in a single tab. And we also have a SkyDoc portal, which is user-friendly, and it allows for collaboration with users outside of the NetSuite ecosystem to approve or reject the files and also share the documents securely. So now let's take a look at the updates. I'm sharing the screen. Can you see my screen, Tina?
Yes, Akshara, please go ahead.
Okay, so the first one we have for the release is the SkyDoc API. So SkyDoc API can be used to users to upload the documents out of NetSuite, which means some external sources. So using a API URL. So in order to enable the API URL, we need to navigate to Setup, SkyDoc, and then SkyDoc Setup. In SkyDoc Setup, we have a checkbox for Enable SkyDoc API. We can enable it if we want to use the SkyDoc API. And once we enable that, we'll be able to see a SkyDoc API URL. So this is the URL for which we need to do a post request to upload any files from the external sources. So for that post request, we have some format. So that format needs the file name and the file type. So file type could be PDF, image, or doc, anything like that. And folder ID is the internal ID of the SkyDoc folder. And record type is like, it could be expense report, it could be employee, it could be sales order. So it could be any record type. And record ID would be the internal ID of the record to which we are uploading. And file content should be the base 64 format of the file. And we also have, so if the API response is success, it shows the status as success along with the SkyDoc ID. And if it has any error, it shows us the what is the error message also. So as we cannot demonstrate it through from the external source, I'm just explaining this way. Yeah, so this is about the Skydoc API URL. And next one we have is making the categories mandatory. So from this release, we have an option to make the category mandatory. So for that, we need to enable the checkbox make file category mandatory in the Skydoc setup page. Firstly, we need to enable that. Once we enable it, we'll have a field required number of categories which will be populated once we check this field. So in this field, we need to enter the number of categories for which we need to make it mandatory. For now, I'm just selecting one category. Once we select it, we need to click on submit. Yeah, and after we enable that, we can open any record, and on the Skydoc tab, so here you can see a folder. I have selected a folder and I have not selected a category, but in the configuration I have made the category mandatory. If any user tries to upload any file, you can see that it throws an alert saying please select a category. But yeah, now we'll try to upload a file by selecting a category. You can see the file has been uploaded successfully, and I can click on refresh and I'll be able to see the file along with the category also. So these are the features that we have for this release for Skydoc. Next, we'll have a look at the BEI, or bulk email invoices. So as you know, bulk email invoice is a solution for automating dunning functionality, and also it's built on the NetSuite platform and is designed to make invoicing and collection process very easy. And this app allows to generate bulk email transactions with multiple invoice attachments, and we can also customize templates which we can trigger either manually, or we also have a automation functionality which can be used to send emails automatically. And we can also set frequency, and we can also have custom filters, and we can also filter the invoices using different features like class, date, location, and subsidiary, and we have so many other filters. For this release, we have two release features for BEI. One of them is having the number of emails sent log on the invoice record, or we can have a count of how many emails sent to that invoice. So when we open the bulk email invoice screen, and when we see the only emailed invoices, in the number of emails sent column, we'll be able to see some number. So this number tells us how many emails were sent to that particular invoice. So here we can see one, which means only one email is sent to this invoice, and here two, which means two emails were sent to this email. And we also have a number of emails sent filter, which has values like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 plus, which using this filter, we can filter the invoices based on how many emails were sent to that particular invoice. If we want to filter for invoices for which we have sent more than 5 emails, we can use this 5 plus, and all those invoices will be filtered accordingly. So this is about the number of emails sent functionality. And second one we have is the merge functionality. So the functionality of merging is like instead of sending multiple attachments in an email, we can choose to send a merge attachment, which will be like all those invoice PDFs will be merged into a single PDF, and we can email that PDF to the customers. So to use the merge functionality, we need to enable this send multi-attach email checkbox. Once that is checked, we'll be able to see the merge attachments checkbox. We need to check the merge attachments checkbox. and we can select any any invoices that we want to send to the customer, and we can click on the process. Before that, we need to select a email template, and we can choose to send the customer statement, and we can click on the process. So by doing this, customer will receive a invoice PDF which will be merged one. So they'll receive a single PDF which has the details of all three invoices. So that's it about BEI. Now let's have a look at inventory count.
Okay, Akshara, thanks. Let's switch back to our slides for the section on our other suite apps, because the features are still in development. So you're going to have to just see some screenshots. Okay, can you see my screen, Akshara?
Yes, I can.
All right, go ahead.
Our next product is inventory count, which makes the cycle counting in NetSuite easy. It helps users to sync the physical warehouse to the inventory on NetSuite, and we can perform regular warehouse counts and also post inventory adjustments and record them in NetSuite. All this can be used to optimize our time and effort we use for the inventory counting. And this app also comes with a barcode scanner that allows us to scan the inventory in real time. And in order to add an item to inventory count suite app, we just need to simply scan the item, add the serial number if that item uses serial number, or scan the lot number if that is a lot numbered item, and then we need to select the location and bin number and then just submit, and that item will be counted. And the release features that we have for inventory count are, so the first one is now inventory count has a dashboard and a dedicated role to that. So this role will have all the permissions to use the inventory count, and it also comes with a dashboard with all needed reports and portlets related to the inventory count. And the second one, so there was a bug which is related to counting lot numbered items. That bug was fixed in this release. And then next we have a functionality to tally the count on the item scanning page. So this feature can be turned on or off during the counting on the scan page itself. So as you can see, we have a toggle on the top which says tally count. So that can be used to on the tally count if needed and turn off if not needed. So when this feature is turned down, every time a same lot number item is scanned, so instead of us putting the quantity manually, so the quantity will be incremented automatically. So for example, if I scan the same lot number multiple times, so I need not enter the quantity always. So I can just scan the lot number and then the quantity will be incremented automatically instead of us doing the manual entering of that quantity. And then next we have a functionality to handle the not counted out items on any particular day. So we have a lot of requests from customers to handle this, so we have implemented this in our release. So what it does is we have our inventory items which are not scanned report, which shows the items which are not scanned on any particular day. So that could be day or month or a week. We have that filters available and we can select the filters accordingly. By selecting the filters, the items will be filtered, and then we can export this. So as you can see, the physical quantity is already already defaulted to 0. So then we can export this we can export this report directly, and then we can import it back to NetSuite using our saved CSV import. And then when we adjust these quantities, or when we create an inventory adjustment, then we are making the quantity to 0 directly. So that is about inventory count. And then finally we have Portals Pro. So Portals Pro is a single unified platform with one portal each for vendors, customers, and employees. So it is secure, well-based self-service, which users can access to submit the invoices, can initiate the payments, and also to resolve the disputes. And we can engage and communicate with the teams directly from the portal. And HR teams can rely on Portals Pro to communicate and keep employees engaged and motivated even when remote, while employees can quickly log in to view their profiles, get company updates, enter their expenses, and they can apply and approve the leaves from the employee portal, and they can also check the holiday calendars. And vendors and contractors can be quickly onboarded while maintaining the necessary compliance. And customers can save their time with the convenient e-payment feature and review their transactions also. So in this release, we'll be covering updates to the vendor portal. So the first one is we have the ability to define the response type for each question on the onboarding. So as you can see on the screen, so we have an option to select we have an option to select the response type, like is it a select field. If it is a select field, it would be a drop down with the options that we have to the right. And we can also choose if it is a email field, or if it is an address field, or it's a contact field, so that we know what we are expecting from the vendor or customer. In the questionnaire, they can enter the required information. So the next one is we have the ability to automatically update the vendor, whatever the information vendor updated from the vendor portal to the vendor record which is in the NetSuite. So it is like syncing the information between the vendor and what is available in our NetSuite records. For that, firstly we need to set up that information in the setup page. So as you can see here, we are selecting the fields on the vendor record with each question, so that whenever the vendor responded with these questions and once the onboarding is approved, so these whatever the information the vendor has given in that questionnaire will be added directly to the NetSuite record, so that the sync would be maintained between the vendor information and also our NetSuite records. And now with 2022.2, vendor onboarding also supports the multi-stage approval. So previously we used to have only single stage. Now we can also do the multi-stage approval also. And next, we have this email approval functionality. So with this, what happens is, so previously the approver needs to open the link and then go navigate to the record, and they can approve or reject from there. But now the approvers can easily approve or reject the proposal or any record directly from the email itself. As you can see here, we have confirm and decline buttons. So the confirm can be used if the approver wants to approve it, and then decline can be used if the approver wants to reject that record. And they can always log in and check the record also if required, but if they want to do it directly from the email, they can do it. Once they click on confirm, the request confirmed message can be seen, and once they click on decline, request has been declined message can be seen on the screen. That's it from me, Tina.
Hey, thanks, Akshara. All right, now on to Athara, who's going to cover updates for Suite Commerce. Athara?
Hey, Tina. Hi, everybody. Today we'll be talking about the changes that are coming to the Suite Commerce platform in 2022.2. Sorry. There aren't that many, and especially if you've been on the platform for a while, and if you went through those times where there were a lot of changes and a lot of changes in architecture happening, you might be surprised, but my opinion is that the platform is now quite mature, and all they're doing is smaller changes that are needed. So let's talk about the first change that's coming. Support for data-centric URLs is ending. And this process was started a few releases ago, so you should all have done this by now. But if you haven't, please go through your code and your setup and your file cabinet and make sure that you don't have URLs that show your data center. So I assume everybody knows what a data center is. You might be on the North America data center or one of the Asia data centers. If you're on the North America data center, your URL might say something like na1.netsuite.com or na3.netsuite.com, something like that. What you will need to do is go through your code, look for those kind of URLs, and then replace them with a URL that is in the shopping domain or just in your website's custom domain. So that's one thing that you definitely must do before your 2022.2 release. Now, any changes to the themes and extensions that NetSuite provides out of the box, if you have those installed, any changes to those will be released separately, and you can find details of those changes in the Suite Commerce themes and Suite Commerce extensions release notes and the help sections when it does. Now, I'd like to talk about how you can decide whether to upgrade your Suite Commerce Advanced website. If you're on Suite Commerce, that is not a problem you have because you automatically get every new version. But if you're on Suite Commerce Advanced, it is a conscious decision and an exercise that you must go through to upgrade your website to a newest version. So let's think about, let's discuss what you should do to decide whether to upgrade or not. So the first thing to do is to find out what version you are currently using. And this is very easy to do. There are many ways to do it. The simplest version, the simplest way is open your website in a browser, right-click and view page source, and scroll all the way to the bottom, and you will see which Suite Commerce version you're on, whether you're on Kilimanjaro, which was a very old version, whether you're on 2020.1 or 2, so on. You can see that there. Now, you don't really need to upgrade if you're on like the last couple of versions. It's not necessary. But if you're, say, on a very old version, then what you do is you review release notes of the releases that came after your version and see what functionality and features were released in those versions. If you cannot do this yourself, you could reach out to NetSuite or a partner to learn, what that gap is between the current version and the version that you have, and they should give you that information. And then if you feel like you need any of that functionality, you can upgrade. So for example, there have been changes to, what was it? It was the verified with Visa component, which is not really used in America. But if you need those changes, say you're in Europe or Asia and you need those changes, that would be a reason to upgrade to the latest version. Now, what does it mean to upgrade your website? I'd like to cover that as well. Again, it depends what version you're on. If you're on a pre-Aconcagua version, then that means a full re-implementation for you. So everything must be redone because after your version was released, SCA or the SC platform went to an extensibility framework. So any customizations were written as extensions that could be ported easily between different versions. So all your source code customizations, or as many as you can, will need to be ported to the extensibility framework and rewritten as extensions. Now, if you're on Aconcagua or later, then you can have a developer assess your code setup and see, how many of your customizations are as extensions, how many are still in the source code, and according to that, give you an estimate of what it'll take to upgrade to the latest version, because they will need to port the source code and the extensions to the new version. So if there are any changes to the APIs or to the way the code is written, then we will need to update that as well. But that is how you do an upgrade, and that is it from me.
Hey, thanks, Athara. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. If you have any questions from any of our experts, please feel free to reach out using the handles up on the screen right now. And if you have any questions, please do post them in the chat box. We have a couple of more minutes left. We should be able to answer that. All right. Hope to see you again in our next session. Thanks, Athara. Thanks, Uday, Eric, Navina, and Akshara.